Aloha everybody, it is I, the Great Clement, and now we're here at the Jungle Joyride of Adabat. This is the nighttime stage, it's very tropical, and I have with me another guest, and this guy is, he got on because of his fans, actually. A lot of people have been asking me to put him on, and so here is NickonAquaMagna.
I bet you got my name wrong. Why do so many people get it wrong? NickonAquaMagna, NickonAquaman, Nicaragua 2. Whatever.
Nicaragua too.
I know someone actually called me that because I couldn't be bothered to say it the right way, and I did used to have a 2 at the end, so I could understand that. Aquamagna is a planet from Bionicle, which is basically my childhood. I'm crazy about that shit, and just seemed fitting. So anyway, yeah, Jungle Joyride Night. I didn't play the Wii version, but at least on the other version, this is like my favorite Werehog stage, just because it's so beautiful. It's such a great atmosphere. And of course, they have to ruin it every 30 seconds by playing this stupid theme.
The good old Werehog battle theme. It never gets tired, ever.
I just noticed how spacey the background is. Wow. I would really love to see a night sky like that, because I've heard that in some places, if there are just no lights around, like really far away, I mean, there are like torches and whatnot here, but if the sky was clear enough, you would be able to just see all of space like that. It's amazing.
Yeah. So Nick, I'm familiar with your videos. I think I already know the answer, although it may have changed over the years, but I know you're not particularly fond of the daytime stages in Sonic Unleashed. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, okay, you'd be right. I'm in that camp that's like, oh, they're too linear, and they're too claustrophobic, and they're too fast-paced and everything, and of course people don't realize that I just want a healthy middle ground of, like, Sonic gameplay. I don't want it to go too far in one direction or the other, and that's kind of my problem with this game. When it's not too fast, it is too slow, because you got stages like this. It's always doing too much or too little of something. There's no balance, no consistency. A good job managing to cling to that guy for that long.
Yeah, I can't really maneuver when I'm on that guy. When I'm hanging on him, I'm only going in one direction. So of course, if the monster's shooting at me, well, not much I can do there. So that's kind of weirdly designed.
Before saying anything else, I just want to point out that there have been times in the past where I've heard you say things in your videos, like in your Sonic Heroes LP, like Egg Fleet. You said there are some people who think that the daytime stages are really linear, and well, that's bullshit. And then there was like another time in your Sonic 06 review where you said, fuck the people who say, oh, it's a shadow game. And I know there are other people who say those things, but I always had this nagging worry in my mind, like, oh jeez, I hope he's not talking about me.
I wasn't singling out any specific YouTuber. It's always been a collection of comments that I've been reading. A lot of people agree with you. You know, if you've read the comments, a lot of people do think the Sonic stages are not that interesting, and
yeah, but I'll delve into that, why I think that, because I really don't think it's clear enough, and my opinion has changed substantially over the years as I've, like, simmered down. But, like, even in an earlier part of this, there was one point where you were talking about how people feel about the day stages, and you said stuff about them wanting to decry them, and just the way you enunciated it, the way you emphasized it, it was very similar to the way I said it recently, and at that point I couldn't help thinking, wait, has Clement been watching my videos? But you just said you have, so hey, thanks.
a little bit. I like to follow the Sonic fan base, and you do have some pretty eye-catching titles in your videos. Like, when you look at a Sonic video and then you look to the side and it's like, no, the daytime stages suck too. That gets people's attention. It's like, oh, what's this? Click.
Yeah. The thing people need to understand about that video, and I keep having to make this reply to just about everyone who comments on it, like every few weeks now, because people still comment on that, and they still think that I made it like just the other day, just for them. This video is from 2009, guys. It's old as shit. When I made it, there wasn't a Sonic Colors or a Sonic Generations or Lost World or any of that stuff, so I really thought that this was how Sonic games were going to be from that point on. And I saw it as, like, a dumbing down of Sonic gameplay. Like,
and it was at the tail end of the dark age of Sonic, so I could see why pessimism would be a high point of the Sonic fan base at that time.
I had no idea how much they were going to develop the style and make it better and better in subsequent games. like I love the modern stages and generations. I don't care so much for the simpler ones like Green Hill and whatnot, but I love ones like Sky Sanctuary and modern Seaside Hill. I think that stage is perfect. It's got so much platforming, so much room, and like, yeah, there are paths, but the way I see it, in the daytime stages, when there's another path, it's each path on its own still feels very linear and claustrophobic. It's like if you take a few strings of yarn and you just lay them out across the floor and occasionally make them overlap and crisscross. But in Seaside Hill, all these paths are just so closely clumped together, it feels like a giant playground or something. It doesn't feel like a few split paths that just occasionally intersect. It feels like this huge interconnected world that's just chock full of stuff to play with, and I love it.
It took me a long time to know about the giant chompers and like the out-of-bound stuff and all the different like water routes you can take in Seaside Hill. So yeah, I agree. It's a level that you come back to and you can still discover new things about it.
And I know it may seem like I'm asking for a little much, but if they made an entire game that played like that the entire time,
oh god,
I think that would be perfect. Anyway.
This level is very slow. This is basically, you have all these whirlpools and all these floating planks of wood, and you can't really speed them up or anything, and you have to wait for them so you can reach the end of the area. So it's a lot of waiting and waiting.
I have to admit, this whirlpool is pretty well animated, considering it's just a few like textures just being smushed together. It looks really good. Remember some similar effects in Dead Space, where there'd be walls of just flesh that was writhing around it. Even though it was a flat surface that just had an animation on it, it just looks so touchable. And this is a similar effect. I find it pretty impressive, considering, you know, that this is like the down port of the game or whatever.
Yeah, again, it's kind of underrated, kind of, in a way, sorta.
There are things I really, really like about this. Like, I actually am impressed by how open some of the daytime stages in this game feel, like Spagonia, because, yeah, you can see other paths and what, and they feel more interconnected, kind of in the same way Seaside Hill does. Not quite as much, but, you know, kind of getting there.
But Chunnan, Dragon Road on the Wii is really open-ended.
Oh,
like,
I really like that.
When you start off that level, there's like 3 different pathways through the temple you can go. Like, I can homing attack a chain of guys to the left, I can go through the temple in the middle area, or I could go to the right side, and there's all kinds of, like, items and stuff to find. You can surf on the water, you can take the road with the javelins getting thrown at you and stuff, so...
And the key thing is that they don't feel quite as cut off from each other as a lot of the pathways in the, you know, high-res PS3, Xbox 360 daytime stages do. It just can't really be helped.
And again, those were designed by dimps, and I don't know how you feel about dimps personally, but they do get a lot of shit for being dimps. Like, oh, it's dimps. It's a dimp Sonic game.
I think that they can make decent level design. Like, Sonic 4... I find that game kind of bland overall, but I do appreciate that they put a little more thought into the level design than usual. I wish there weren't so many boosters and whatnot, but I think it's alright. I don't think they're totally inept. I think that maybe they were made to go in a certain direction that would make Sonic fresh, I guess. You know, power to them for doing that, but I just think they have a tendency to go too far in one direction.
Mm-hmm.
I guess... if you don't mind, I'd like to go over my history with Unleashed a little bit, because, believe it or not, when I first got this game, I loved the shit out of it. It was like my favorite Sonic game for a little while, because that first impression of it, yeah, I felt it. I felt that simple thrill, just that people say they still feel with this game to this day. For some reason, though, it just wore off on me after a while. But after, like, being jaded by so many other games for a while, I saw this and I'm like, this is amazing. Sonic is back!
Do you think, did you play Sonic 06 before Sonic Unleashed came out?
Nope, but I did want to go over how I got that. I didn't play Sonic 06 for a long time, and I guess it's fortunate that I didn't. It's like I finally got around to playing it at some point years later just because I wanted to see what all the hubbub was about. I wanted to experience it for myself, kind of validate what I heard everyone else saying about it. And boy, what a slog of a game.
What a disaster, huh?
But the way I got it, oh man, I went to a GameStop and I found a used copy. It was pretty cheap, like $14. You know, not so bad, not as cheap as you got it, but still. And the person working there who gave it to me, It was this girl who was like in her 20s, and she was slovenly. I don't just mean that she was fat. I mean she looked like she didn't take care of herself much, you know. And I guess she just liked to live out her fantasies vicariously through characters in video games and fan fictions and whatnot. And she, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but she handed me the game after I paid for it. She's like, oh, that's a great game. And she said it with the biggest grin I'd seen in ages, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know.
Oh, God.
I know. There are people who think that game is great. Anyway. Boy, I really like this scenery. It is really nice. Like, I love it. I mean, it is a very different feel from the other version. I do think that the Wii version is worth playing at least once if people enjoy the other, just to see what it's like.
Yeah, certainly to give the daytime stages a try.
Yeah, to give it like a new perspective. Though the way I see the day stages, they were like a tech demo. They were made to impress people by showing like how blisteringly fast Sonic could be in this day and age, how these games could play, and how much could be processed, and how amazing it was. But then they kind of defeated that purpose by drowning out whatever wow factor the daytime stages had, by just swamping it with like 90% Werehog levels. Like, good lord, you spent almost this entire playthrough as the Werehog.
You wouldn't believe how many comments I keep getting. There's like, oh my god, more Werehog? Come on, Clement, we get it.
I've seen those comments.
It's like, I can't help it. That's the game. This is what they did.
But why? Why did they do that? Oh, it's because people don't like it when games are short. You have to make it like super long because you're only ever gonna want to play it that first time, right? No, Sonic is all about replay value. And you know what? There have been times, like in the past years, not so much like nowadays, but like a while ago, I would play through like every single daytime stage in just one sitting, completely skipping everything else. And you know what? It was pretty good. But, you know, then they have to, like, clog it with so much of this stuff to pad it out, and I just don't know what to make of this game sometimes. I don't hate it quite as much as I used to, but, yeah, whatever.
It was a step in the right direction. That's basically what I've been getting.
I will admit that. It is a step up from Unleashed.
Yeah, it's not quite there. I still consider it a Dark Age game for a reason. Like, it's not there, but it's getting there. And again, I hated 06 so much that I was just like, thank God it's better than that. And I know it's not like, well, anything's better than 06, but it's still like, I was worried for the Sonic franchise, basically, you know?
Oh, I understand. And now we're gonna get to the stage that I'm more familiar with.
Actually, not yet. In in part 28, we got more Wii, and then it's gonna be the HT stage.
Okay. Alright, I forgot 4th level. Ugh.